This is Rebel Ray, your hostess with the mostest, and this is the Pruned podcast. I am here with our Congressman Josh Harder. Y'all clap it up, heart it up, let's go. We're here at Huddle Co-work and Create, and we're here because it is Breastfeeding Awareness Month. And it is important that our representatives at the national level, as well as the state and local level, understand the difference and the importance of Black maternal health and the things that are needed to support equity in our communities. And I want to tell you thank you for joining us today. And I want to get straight to it, if that's okay.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So, how long have you been serving our community in this district?
So this is, they change the lines every 10 years. This is the second year in this district and the sixth year overall. More gray hairs and more pounds than when I started, that's for sure.
Let's go. You earned it. You earned it. I mean, you're always showing up in the community. We're seeing you through and through, and we appreciate that. So I really want to talk about what's on our minds and what's concerning us. What are you hearing from your constituents?
Well, we have a lot of work to do on Black maternal health in San Joaquin County. We have the highest rates of Black maternal deaths of anywhere in California, just in our area. That's absolutely unacceptable. I've lived through what it looks like to bring a baby into this world very recently. My wife Pam and I have a 4-month-old. We have a 2-year-old. We're not getting a lot of sleep in our house at the moment. We're doing a whole lot of work. But even with our pregnancy, we had some real complications. Luckily, we had a great healthcare team, but it was scary and tragic. And it's so much worse for Black and brown moms in our community than it should be. We need to do a lot of work. It starts with acknowledging that it's a problem, and we need real conviction to fix it.
Thank you so much, Congressman. And we also need that external support that helps with the ecosystem. As you know, Black mothers are also burdened and despaired in a lot of things that support us, right? There's single family homes that need support, financial funding for small business. We're known nationally to be despaired in a lot of different things. And one of the things that I want to talk about is your Child Care Workforce Families Act. And I want you to tell the audience here, how would that help our families?
Well, first of all, I think you're totally right that Black maternal health isn't just about what happens in a hospital. It's about the education system that we have, the housing ecosystem that we have, and the childcare situation, to make sure that if you have a couple kids at home, you can focus on your baby, and you can make sure that your other kids are in safe hands, especially for working moms or single mothers that we have in Stockton. My bill is dead simple. It is about making sure that childcare is affordable for families across our area. All too often, it makes more, you're gonna have to pay more than 100% of your entire paycheck just to send your kid off, and that's unacceptable. What we need to do is we need more workers that are paid a living wage, and the federal government can do the same efforts that we see in Europe and all across the rest of the world. It's not rocket science.
I love it. I love what you're saying. Let me tell you, just as a single parent and having that second baby, I had a COVID baby. I was also an essential worker, and I did not get to bond with my baby. I was out there supporting the emotional and mental well-being of my community members. And I remember the childcare costs blew my mind. I have a 6-year gap with the 9-year-old and now the 4-year-old COVID baby that seemed to scale the walls at 6 months. And I was still working, and I was still online, Zooming, trying to help people, also trying to juggle at that time a kindergartner. And I just had a cesarean. And I remember trying to go back to work after 2.5 months and not being able to rest in the middle of a pandemic. And I remember just saying, I need help, right? I said, oh, I don't know why I chose to have another baby going into my 40s, but it happens, right? But the child care cost, I lost my child care when I took a higher paying job, and I was not able to take, the affordable child It's about $2,500 for a full-time baby, okay? And so I struggle with that. And a lot of times you would see, I call him Brother Amir because he's way beyond his years, but he was always contributing factors that you're hearing. You're saying that we're in a childcare desert. What are those contributing factors?
The fact is, we don't have enough healthcare, or we don't have enough childcare centers that are open across San Joaquin County, and the ones that do are not affordable. And so we need to fix that. And by the way, the ones that aren't affordable, still the workers that work in those childcare centers often are paid not nearly enough for the work that they do, keeping our kids healthy and well. I mean, it is hard work being a child care center worker. And so that's where our bill comes in. It's trying to make sure that we can fix both those problems at the same time and make it affordable and accessible for every parent in San Joaquin County.
I love that. I love that. And I love that you really focused on the childcare professionals. Your bill focused also on training and retaining childcare professionals. What measures are you proposing to improve the compensation and the job satisfaction of childcare workers and help retain them in their field?
The way to think about this is the same issues for childcare are present for our healthcare workforce. One of the reasons why we have high issues with Black maternal mortality is because our healthcare workforce, our childcare workforce, don't reflect the populations that they serve. You go out and see a doctor, what are the chances are that that's going to be a Black female doctor that can actually relate to the patient that she's serving? Not nearly enough. And so in order to fix these problems, we have to start from the very beginning. We need more health sciences academy and help into our schools to make sure that we are training kids from Stockton to go into medicine, to be doctors and nurses. We need a med school in the Central Valley. I've been working for years to get a med school at UC Merced. They're going to be entering their first freshman class ever this fall. Exciting. Those doctors, even if they're trained in Merced, they're going to help out Stockton because they're more likely to be right here. And then we need to make sure that we're focusing on that at the end, make sure that the doctors that we actually train can afford to make a living here. We saw during COVID, our ICU beds were more than 100% full.
Yes.
We saw our healthcare workforce completely depleted and exhausted, not because we didn't have the bed space, but because we didn't have the people. We didn't have the nurses and doctors that were trained locally. And the fact is, you get better healthcare when you're looking across the room and staring into the eyes of somebody who knows you, who knows where you came from, who speaks your language, especially in a city as diverse as Stockton. Yes. And so, this is the same issue for child. We need a diverse workforce that actually reflects our area. It starts early, but we need every edge of the value chain. We need to make sure that we're focusing on our elementary schools, on our med school, and on that retention if we really are going to crack down on what's a big problem in our city.
Come on, y'all, clap that up. He came prepared and ready. That's why he's the man. Listen, how important is bipartisan support to the success of child care workforce and the Facilities Act? And what challenges do you anticipate in garnering support from both parties?
Look, this is an issue that shouldn't care about whether or not you're a Republican or a Democrat. We all have moms. We all want to have babies. This is the challenge that faces each and every one of us. And all too often, I think we let our party labels and our party T-shirts separate us from actually making progress. We've introduced an effort that had bipartisan support to create a loan repayment program for physicians coming and working from the Valley, for the Valley, and originally by the Valley, that'll bring 10,000 doctors to San Joaquin County, all the way from Stockton to Fresno over the next 5 years. We got 100% support on that from Republicans and Democrats across the country. We need a lot more where that came from.
I love it. So how will you measure the success of these programs funded by this legislation once they're implemented? And what benchmarks do you foresee? Do you foresee supporting CBOs to grow? Tell us about the equitable opportunities as well.
Look, I'm outcomes oriented, and the best thing that we can use as a metric is making sure that we're looking at the maternal mortality that we have right now. 85% of the Black maternal mortality we have in San Joaquin County is completely preventable. And so it's unacceptable that we're not doing more to prevent it. We know exactly what we have to do. And so the way that I think about this is we need a healthcare system that is diverse and reflective of the communities it serves and is responsive to their interests. And then we need to go outside the hospital and we need to think about all the other conditions that we have across our area. Nutrition is a big one.
Yes.
You know, we know if moms are not getting the nutrition that they need, if they have to worry about where the next meal for their family, for their existing kiddos are going to come from, then they're going to be stressed. And that creates all sorts of pressures, especially when you're carrying a new kid. The same is true for our housing situation. I remember when it used to be, you know, $500 a month to get a 1-bedroom in Stockton.
Right.
Now they won't get you a shoebox. And so if you have all of these stresses in your life, we can't just be focused on the hospital. We have to be focused on what else happens across the life of that mom if we're going to be training the kids starting from, from before they're born to make sure that they can continue to make a contribution in Stockton.
I love that. And, Congressman, I thank you for always understanding what a dollar means. I mean, especially for people who are working. Your legislation aims to make quality childcare accessible for parents who work non traditional hours. A lot of our moms, a lot of our fathers are working those late night shifts. They might be working two jobs at this point just to handle inflation. What specific solutions do you propose for these families?
We need a system that is actually flexible and responsive to the community. We have 100,000 people that live in Stockton and San Joaquin County, but they don't work here. They commute over the Altamont Pass for work every single day. We have folks that are working here who are farm workers, or they're working as janitorial service members, or they're getting, those late night shifts. And so a child care facility that's only opened 9 to 5 or 10 to 4 isn't actually going to help you. So it's not just about the cost. It's not just about the people that are in it. It's about making sure that we have those hours reflective. That's going to take some work. But our effort is trying to make sure that we're moving that forward to be responsive to the families that need help.
I love that. I love that. And, looking beyond this bill, we want to understand where we're going in California. We've been rocked by inflation, gas prices, fires, all kind of legislation and policy regulating us. I think sometimes overtaxed, if I may say. Looking beyond this bill, what is your long-term vision for childcare in California, and how does this legislation fit into that vision?
Well, again, our vision is for no preventable deaths for Black mothers anywhere in California.
Shame.
That's our vision. That's
Come
our
on,
goal.
clap it up, y'all.
And
that's our goal.
That's what we got to go towards, right? And that means that we have to make sure that we're doing some work, especially when we're starting now out at the bottom of where we are right now, the bottom of anywhere in California. It starts with acknowledging that there's a problem, bringing folks together. I think what we've had reInvent do, thank you to Kim for her leadership. I don't know where she pieced out to, but thank you. I know it takes an awful lot of work to put an event like this together. We need more of this, and we need a system that actually listens to the people that we have across Stockton.
Ashe, ashe. Thank you, Congressman. That was wonderful. I mean, we got through that interview like a breeze because you know your homework. And I appreciate you. You always show up. You always do your homework. You know where the problems lie. And I've been following your career since you started. And I am endorsing you personally as a leader because I believe in you and I've watched you. You put your money where your mouth is and you work for the people. And right now, we're going to take 5 minutes to open up the audience, questions to the congressman. Maybe that is something that's on your mind, or you would like to talk about some of the issues that are here on the ground. This is your representative. And so you may come and take the mic. We're going to take about 5 minutes and be cognizant when you're questioning or asking for a question. Okay, do we have any questions for the congressman?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
And you can actually come and be with me if you can up on the stage. We are streaming for our community family members that couldn't be here today. And you can actually just have a seat right here next to me, to my left. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think Thank you for being here, and we really appreciate your support. I did want to ask though, has there been any talk or thoughts about exactly how we'll make sure that we include the Black community to be able to take part in these positions that we're looking for, so that we have these individuals that are trusted, that are in the back room, that are there supporting it? And how can we get more funding into this area to really focus in on that? Because there, like you mentioned, there's just a huge shortage. And if a Black pregnant woman is going to go to a doctor, there's a good chance that she's not going to find someone that looks like her to be able to help her. And when you're pregnant, you can't put it off. So you have to make a choice at that time for service.
Absolutely. And again, study after study have shown that it's, not just in our minds. We really do get better healthcare when the person you're looking at actually looks like you and they understand where you're coming from. And that's true for Black moms. It's also true in a city as diverse as ours of any culture. And so we have to have a healthcare workforce that reflects and is representative of the community it serves. Again, Rome wasn't built in a day. This problem isn't going to be fixed overnight because it takes a while to train doctors and nurses. But I'll mention a couple things we're trying to do. First, we need a health science academy at every single high school in Stockton, because we need doctors and nurses that graduate from every single high school in Stockton. If we only have it at, the wealthiest, most privileged schools, then that's where the doctors are going to come from. And so it starts as early as possible. We know if a kid is reading at grade level at third grade, they're going to be on to better scientific success later in life. So it starts as early as it can be, exposing kids to the possibilities of what a career can actually look like. If you live in, South Stockton, you may not know a lot of folks that actually work in healthcare, that spend time in a hospital. And so that's on our education system to make sure that we are exposing kids to what that life looks like and helping them prepare a path if we're going to be able to fix that. The second is, you mentioned, we got to put our money where our mouth is. And so I'll mention the work that I did at Delta College to double the size of the nursing program this year. That's a huge step because, again, if we're taking doctors and nurses that are trained in San Francisco or Los Angeles, shipping them up to Stockton, they're not going to be from here. And even if they look like us, they're not going to really know the lives that we lead, and they're not going to be as effective as somebody who was born and raised, who understands our community. And so it starts with not just our school system, SUSD, it starts with Delta, it starts with that MSW program that I'm working on expanding at CSU Stanislaus, which we'd love to see more expansion of that, because again, it's not just the hospital, it's all the work around the hospital. But we have to make sure that we're growing those systems if we're going to have a healthcare workforce that does the best job it can.
Absolutely. Thank you
Absolutely.
for that. And if I may, just a little bit more in South Stockton, I know you mentioned that they may not be aware of this, but a lot of these young people, even when they're aware, there's so many barriers that we really do need to take some of that money and we need to address some root issues in order to get them on that path. I have to plug the CHWs. They're going to be the future of how we do healthcare. They're going to be that connector. And so any support that we can get in this area for growing our CHW workforce, we would really appreciate
Come on,
it.
Queen. Activate.
Absolutely.
Come on, advocate. I love that. And it's important that we have those with lived experiences go into these jobs. It supports mobility, it supports poverty alleviation. When our mothers can move from a $25 hour job as a CHW because they have lived experiences, but also because of the passion, and move in to be a nurse or a doctor and almost triple their salary, that is something amazing. And that's what we're needing. And I want to thank you again, Congressman. If there's any more questions we would like to take for the Congressman, please come up. If not, we're going to send the Congressman on his way. We know that he definitely has a work cut out for him to do in California, but we're standing with you and we thank you.
Thank you. Before I leave, I also have a certificate of congressional recognition on behalf of the entire United States Congress to reinvent South Stockton for this community baby shower celebration. It is so exciting to see, and I know your dedication to improving the quality of life of kids and families, regardless of their zip code, is incredibly admirable, and we're with you every step of the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. We're going to get a picture of that.